Okay, don't know if you saw it online over it was the weekend before the first game, the 28th day of August. I put out my final 2010 game-by-game Iowa football prediction. If you haven't seen it, this will be new for you. If you have seen it, this might help you qualify some things that I wrote and said that maybe you didn't disagree with or wanted me to elaborate on further. Right out of the gate, Iowa against Ball State should not be any problem. The biggest drama and intrigue to me in this game, see what the offensive line looks like, see if C.J. Fedorowicz gets into action in this game because he is just an absolute mammoth man-child. We won't have Jewel Hampton in this game. Broderick Binns also will be ineligible for this game as well. Plus, want to see how sweet those old-school 1958 Rose Bowl uniforms look on a throwback Saturday. The following week against Iowa State, the Cyclones come to Kinnick Stadium, where they have not won in 8 years. 2002, the last time they won, when Seneca Wallace, their witch, was playing quarterback, and that's a term of endearment. He did things that day I've seen few quarterbacks do in my entire lifetime of watching football. Don't think it's going to work out that good for the Cyclones on this day. Their defense is, until proven otherwise, their defense a lot of problems this year, and their offense should be improved over last year. Todd Herman, their offensive coordinator, this is Tom Herman rather, year two under him. Iowa State should make gains. Iowa should still win this game. Game 3, one of the most pivotal games of the season. Iowa against Arizona, 9:30 Central Time start. Out at Arizona, that's never easy. You talk to former Iowa players, you talk to former Iowa coaches, you talk to coaches in general. Jerry DiNaro, coach of Vanderbilt and LSU and Indiana, now a colleague of mine on the Big Ten Network, saying that when you go out west, it's tough. Kirk Ferentz didn't schedule this game. All right, so 9:30 body clock local time start for these Hawkeyes. If Iowa can get by this Arizona game, everything's in play. I think they do. I think it'll be close. I think maybe they come out flat. But this defense, folks, this defense, the ultimate cure for a slow start or a hangover. This defense is going to be there all the time. Iowa wins that in a close one. After that, Ball State, no problems there. If I said Ball State to start the broadcast here, I meant Eastern Illinois. So if I said Ball State with regards to the kickoff game, I don't even know. I'm so hyped up, I forgot what I said about 3 minutes ago with regards to that team. But I do know in Game 5 is Game 1 of the Big Ten season. That's Penn State coming to town. Not nearly the intrigue and buildup of last year's game out at the White House at Penn State. This is a team we don't know who their quarterback's going to be. Their offensive line has some issues. They lost some huge beef up front. They lost all 3 of their starting linebackers. This team is very fortunate. It plays a soft schedule with the exception of playing on the road at 3 teams, 3 places that won BCS bowl games last year, at Alabama, at Iowa, and at Ohio State. No team's ever done that before, as the Crimson Tide, Hawkeyes, and Buckeyes all won BCS bowl games. Penn State goes on the road to those places. After Penn State, Iowa gets a bye. I think this is a good place for Iowa to get a bye in this season. I have them now 5-0. They should be certainly top 5 in the country by this point in time of the season, maybe even top 3. Good time to go evaluate film. What's their offensive line need to work on? Where do they need to tinker with things? Time to evaluate yourself as opposed to scouting ahead to your upcoming opponents. After that, you go to Michigan. At this point in time, Michigan could be dead in the water. Denard Robinson, I think, is going to be their quarterback. I think that they could have lost to Notre Dame. They could have lost to UConn right out of the chute. They could have also lost to Michigan State. They play Michigan State the week before they play Iowa. That's a lot of energy expended. That's going to be a hard-hitting game. Michigan State needs it. Michigan State's a physical football team. Whether or not you like their chemistry from year to year, that's certainly a debate. If Michigan could be a team dead in the water, Rich Rodriguez could be a coach who is very much under fire, more so than he started the season with. By that time, if they lose to one of Notre Dame or Michigan State or even UConn right out of the chute, if they lose to Randy Edsall's Huskies team right out of the chute, there's trouble. I think Iowa wins this game. All right, I think they win that game. Next up, Wisconsin at home, physical battle, but Iowa. Basically, when you look at the last 8 quarters of football against Wisconsin, the Hawkeyes have stolen their milk money 6 out of 8 times. It's been a physical mismatch. Iowa has won it with the exception of the first half last year. Iowa came in and did an amazing job making second half adjustments. I believe Iowa only gave up 16 points in 13 games in third quarter action last year, which is a remarkable statistic. Next week, Michigan State, another hard-hitting game. Iowa's the better team. I think Iowa at this point in time is undefeated. Then they go on the road for a pair of games at Indiana. Indiana's probably going to score some points. That we've seen it do for Iowa. Iowa overlooks this team, but they'll still win. Then at Northwestern, a little bit of payback. I don't think the Wildcats are going to be as effective on offense this year. Dan Persa, the expected starting quarterback, played against Iowa last season as C.J. Bechet was out for that as they won 17-10 against the Hawkeyes, ending Iowa's 9-0 streak. Not this year. Iowa goes to 10-0 because they beat the Cats. And that sets up what I think is going to be an unbeaten battle between number 1 Ohio State and number 2 Iowa on November the 20th. And if that's the case, Kinnick Stadium is going to be rocking and rolling unlike it ever has in its history. You would have this late in the season, number 1 versus number 2. Of course, we had number 1 versus number 2 Iowa, number 1 Michigan, number 2 1985, 25 years ago. The last time there's this much hype of surrounding an Iowa team. But that was in middle to late October. This is November 20th. It's the penultimate game of the season. That means second to last. It'll be unbelievable, and I think Iowa emerges victorious, and then they'll beat Minnesota the following week. So for the first time that I can remember, my final on the record right before the season started prediction, I have Iowa going undefeated. And some of the Cyclone fans out there are watching this, and I know that you are because you cannot stay away from it. You'll say, oh, John does that every year. That's just not the case, and it's not the truth. Love the Hawkeyes, and certainly don't mind being called the homer at times because I'll err on their side when given the opportunity. But remember back in 2002 when you came to Kinnick Stadium, I picked you to win by 1 point, and the Iowa fans certainly let me hear it that time around. Again, there hasn't been this much excitement surrounding an Iowa football season since 1985. I was 14 years of age in 1985, and it's been that long since there's been this much buildup, this much expectation. And I hope they can live up to some of it. If this team would go 9-3 or 8-4, it's not the end of the world. 8-4 and 9-3 seasons in Iowa football history. What has there been? 11 or 13, 9 or better win seasons in the history of the Iowa football team. So let's not lose focus. And some of you may say, hey, John, you just picked them to go 12-0, which means I have them playing for the national championship game against Oklahoma, 12-1 in the Fiesta Bowl. So I know that is expectation there. If they don't do it, however, if they do it, it'll be amazing because to go undefeated, there's usually 1 or 2 teams a year that do that. So the odds are stacked against me. But I think on this day, the 30th of August, on paper, Iowa's a favorite to win every football game in their schedule except for one. That's Ohio State and Kinnick, and it wouldn't be but Ohio State by 3 at this point in time. So if the Hawks can avoid the injury bug, Rick Stanzi, do no harm. You don't have to be a Heisman quarterback. Just don't put your defense in jeopardy on short sides of the field with turnovers. Do no harm and have an above average season. Have a touchdown to interception ratio, say 18-8. You can live with that as long as those 8 picks are not on your side of the 50. You got a great punter. Mel Kiper Jr. ranks him number 1 amongst seniors. Mel Kiper Jr. ranks Adrian Claiborne number 5 on his first big board of the year, the number 1 defensive end in the nation. You have a phenomenal defense. You have a great punter, and you've got good receivers. Just do no harm. If Iowa does that, I think they'll win every game on the schedule, and we'll see you in Arizona for the national championship. Each and every day on HawkeyeNation.com. This football season is going to be a ton of fun, something new each and every day. Monday morning quarterbacks with Jared Kloss returns. Tuesday transcripts with Kirk Ferentz of some way, shape, or form, plus videos and other aggregations of all the media reports from around the state as Iowa has its press conference day. We're going to have weekly Big Ten polls. We'll have more Big Ten content now with me doing a Thursday night show, 8 p.m. Central Time on the Big Ten Network called the Big Ten's Pulse. I'm doing that with LaCharles Bentley. He's my co-host, a former Ohio State All-American Remington Award winner, played for the New Orleans Saints and also the Cleveland Browns. We're going to have prizes. We're going to have an opportunity coming up here in a couple of weeks, thanks to the great folks at the Front Row Sports Bar in Windsor Heights on University. The best, most decorated Hawkeye bar in all of Des Moines. And I'm not putting you on. You have to see it to believe it. And when you go, you'll just walk around for 30 minutes looking at all the Hawkeye-related things on the wall. Clay Cook does a fantastic job there. Clay's going to give one of you an opportunity to go to Iowa's bowl game this year for free on the HawkeyeNation.com charter plane that we've been doing now. This will be our, I think, 7th or 8th straight year of chartering flights to Iowa's bowl game. You'll have an opportunity for a free trip. In a couple of weeks, we'll release that, and all you have to do is pick games better than everybody else. We're going to have a pretty neat credit system on the site where you can put credits on the line. They have no monetary value whatsoever, and they're not worth a thing. That's what that means. I was redundant, but explain it a different way just to get the point home. But it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be unlike any other season ever on HawkeyeNation.com because it could be unlike any other season ever in Iowa football in Iowa City. Back with more later this week. That's it for now.